Right, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. If you know anything about cars, you know this name. It's not just a vehicle, it's a benchmark. A rolling testament to German engineering prowess, and sometimes German stubbornness. For decades, this car hasn't just been in the luxury segment, it has often defined it. Other manufacturers launch their flagship models, and the first question everyone asks is it as good as the S-Class? Usually the answer is a polite, well, it's very nice, but which, in car journalism, means no, not even close. This car is the boss. It always has been, and frankly, it always will be, much to the annoyance of everyone else. The S-Class, you see, stands for Sonderklasse. That's German for special class, and they weren't kidding. It's special because it's usually the first car on the planet to get the latest, most bewildering technology, stuff you don't even know you need until Mercedes puts it in an S-Class. Then about 10 years later, you find it in a Ford Focus. That's the S-Class effect. It's a technological trailblazer, a pioneer of safety, comfort, and sometimes sheer unadulterated gadgetry. It's the car that world leaders choose to be driven in, and the car that successful business types choose to drive. It whispers success rather than shouting it from the rooftops like some other more garish machines. Its significance in automotive history is quite simply enormous. It's not just about luxury, it's about pushing boundaries. Think of a major automotive innovation from the last 50 years. Anti-lock brakes, airbags, electronic stability control, adaptive cruise control. Chances are the S-Class had it first, or at least made it mainstream. This car is a mobile laboratory, a showcase of what's possible when engineers are given a blank check and told to make the best car in the world. Sometimes they go a bit mad, of course, but the results are usually spectacular. It is, in essence, the automotive equivalent of a very expensive, very well-tailored suit. And this journey, this evolution of the S-Class, it didn't just start yesterday. Oh no, its roots go deep, way back into the early days of motoring. Before it was even called the S-Class, Mercedes was building big, imposing luxury cars for the discerning and incredibly wealthy motorists. These were the cars that set the template. They were built like bank vaults, rode like magic carpets, and had engines that purred with quiet authority. So, to understand the S-Class of today, we need to wind the clock back, way back, to a time when a car was a genuine adventure and Mercedes was already figuring out how to make it a supremely comfortable one. Let's be clear. The actual S-Class badge didn't appear until the 1970s, but the spirit, the DNA of what would become the S-Class was there much, much earlier. We're talking about the dawn of the 20th century. Mercedes, or rather Daimler Motoren Gesellschaft and Benz and CE before they joined forces, were already building cars for kings, kaisers and captains of industry. These weren't just modes of transport, they were symbols of status and engineering might. Think of the Mercedes 35 PS from 1901, a revolutionary car for its time, or the later Mercedes-Benz Nürburg 460 of the late 1920s. These were the grandfathers, the elder statesmen of luxury. These early leviathans were enormous. They had to be to accommodate the equally enormous egos of their owners. And the engineering? Top-notch for the era. Engines were getting bigger, smoother and more powerful. Comfort was becoming a consideration, not just an afterthought. These cars were hand-built, often with custom coachwork, making each one unique. It was a different world, a different kind of luxury. It was about craftsmanship, presence, and proving that the automobile could be more than just a noisy, unreliable toy. Mercedes was at the forefront of this, establishing a reputation for quality and durability that would become legendary. They were quite literally setting the standard. One particularly notable ancestor was the Mercedes-Benz 770, also known as the Grosser Mercedes or Grand Mercedes. This was the chariot of choice for the extremely powerful and often the extremely infamous during the 1930s and 40s. It was vast, imposing and packed with the best technology Mercedes could muster at the time. Supercharged straight-eight engines, advanced suspension systems for such a behemoth. It was a statement on wheels. While its associations are sometimes uncomfortable, there's no denying its engineering significance as a pinnacle luxury car of its era. It demonstrated Mercedes' commitment to building cars that were, above all, utterly commanding. After the devastation of World War II, Mercedes-Benz, like much of Germany, had to rebuild. But the ambition to create world-leading luxury cars remained. The company quickly got back on its feet. and the lessons learned from those pre-war giants were not forgotten. The focus shifted slightly, perhaps towards a more understated form of luxury, but the core principles of engineering excellence, safety and comfort were deeply ingrained. These pre-war models laid the foundation, instilling a culture of innovation and an unwavering pursuit of perfection that would directly lead to the cars we now recognize as the true predecessors of the S-Class in the post-war era. Now we arrive in the 1950s, the decade mentioned in our rather catchy title. And while the S-Class name was still a couple of decades away, Mercedes was making serious waves with its ponton models. The W180, introduced in 1954 and often known by its model designations like the 220A and 220S, was a hugely important car. Why ponton? Well, it refers to its pontoon-like slab-sided styling. This was a major departure from the pre-war designs with their separate fenders and running boards. The ponton was modern, sleek, and crucially offered a much more spacious interior thanks to this new construction method. This was the future, and it looked rather good. These ponton saloons weren't just about looks, though. Oh no, Mercedes packed them with proper engineering. They featured a unitary body construction, which was quite advanced for the time, offering improved rigidity and safety. The suspension was also a highlight, with a sophisticated independent front suspension and a swing axle at the rear, providing a ride quality that was the envy of many competitors. The 220S model, in particular with its smooth six-cylinder engine, became a byword for comfortable, reliable and prestigious motoring. It was the car for the successful professional, the doctor, the lawyer, the person who appreciated quality without needing to be overly flamboyant. The impact of the ponton was significant. It helped cement Mercedes-Benz's reputation as a builder of high-quality, durable and comfortable luxury cars in the post-war world. These cars were exported all over the globe and became symbols of German recovery and engineering skill. They weren't cheap, not by a long shot, but owners knew they were getting a car that was built to last, a car that would coddle them in comfort and silence. Lesser-known fact, the ponton was also one of the first cars to undergo systematic crash testing, with Mercedes engineer Bella Baregni pioneering work on passive safety features like crumple zones, even if the term wasn't widely used yet. So, while you couldn't walk into a showroom in 1955 and ask for an S-Class, the Mercedes-Benz 220S ponton was, in every meaningful way, its direct spiritual ancestor for that decade. It embodied the core values of advanced engineering, a focus on safety, even then exceptional comfort and understated prestige. It laid the groundwork for the models that would follow, models that would eventually wear the coveted S badge. The ponton proved that Mercedes knew how to build a thoroughly modern luxury saloon, setting a very high bar for everyone else to try and reach, and mostly they couldn't. As the world grooved into the 1960s, so did Mercedes-Benz, albeit in its own rather stately fashion. The ponton's successor arrived in 1959, and it came with a rather distinctive design, feature tail fins. Yes, the W111 and its more upmarket sibling, the W112, are affectionately known as the Heckflosser or fintail models. Now, these weren't the flamboyant, chrome-laden fins you'd see on a Cadillac of the era. Oh no, these were subtle Peilstegi, or sightlines as Mercedes called them, designed to help with reversing. Practical, you see, even their styling had a purpose, very German. But don't let the somewhat quirky fins fool you. These cars were serious bits of kit. The W111/W112 series continued Mercedes' relentless push for safety. They were the first cars in the world to feature a rigid passenger cell with crumple zones at the front and rear, a concept pioneered by Bella Baregni. This was revolutionary stuff. While other car makers were focusing on bigger engines and shinier chrome, Mercedes was busy trying to stop you from being squashed in an accident. It's this kind of thinking that sets them apart. They also offered padded dashboards and steering wheels, further enhancing occupant protection. Under the bonnet, you could get a range of smooth six-cylinder engines, offering effortless performance suitable for long-distance cruising on the newly expanding autobahns. The W112-300 SE models even came with standard air suspension and a new automatic transmission, elevating the comfort levels even further. These were grand, imposing cars available as saloons, coupes and cabriolets, catering to a wealthy clientele that valued engineering substance over fleeting fashion. They were a common sight, carrying dignitaries and captains of industry, reinforcing Mercedes' image as the builder of choice for important people with important places to be. The fintail era was crucial. It bridged the gap between the post-war recovery designs and the more modern, officially designated S-Class models to come. They sold in huge numbers for a luxury car, proving that there was a strong global demand for Mercedes' blend of quality, safety and comfort. Anecdotally, these cars were known for their incredible durability. Many are still on the road today, a testament to the over-engineering that was already becoming a Mercedes hallmark. The fintails weren't just a styling exercise, they were a rolling showcase of Mercedes' commitment to making cars better and safer for everyone. Section 5, the official birth, the W116. Sonderklasse arrives, 1970s. And then, in 1972, it happened. The moment we'd all been waiting for, even if we didn't know it at the time. Mercedes-Benz launched the W116, and this time they officially called its top-tier versions the S-Class, Sonderklasse, Special Class. Finally, the name matched the mission. This wasn't just another luxury saloon, this was luxury saloon. It was a clean-sheet design, looking more modern and substantial than the fintails it replaced. It was lower, wider, and had a purposeful stance that exuded confidence. The world had a new benchmark, and its name was S-Class. The W116 didn't just look the part, it was packed with innovations that would, yet again, trickle down to lesser cars over the following decades. Most notably, in 1978, the W116 became the first production car in the world to offer an electronic four-wheel multi-channel anti-lock braking system, or ABS, developed with Bosch. Think about that. While other cars were still locking up their wheels and skidding into ditches, S-Class owners could steer while braking hard. This was a monumental leap in active safety, and it's a feature we all take for granted today. But the S-Class had it first. That's the kind of pioneering spirit we're talking about. Inside, the W116 was a haven of calm and quality. The materials were superb, the build quality faultless. It was designed to isolate occupants from the harsh realities of the outside world. With excellent sound deadening and a sophisticated suspension system that soaked up bumps with disdain. You could have features like cruise control, automatic climate control, and even a car phone, which in the 1970s was the height of executive cool. The range-topping 450 CL6.9, with its massive V8 engine and hydropneumatic self-leveling suspension, was a legend in its own right. A muscle car in a tuxedo, capable of embarrassing sports cars while carrying 4 people in supreme comfort. The W116 didn't just influence automotive design, it dominated it. It won the European Car of the Year award in 1974, a rare feat for such a large and expensive car. It set new standards for safety, luxury and refinement that competitors would struggle to match for years. This was the car that truly established the S-Class dynasty. It wasn't just about being big and comfortable, it was about intelligent engineering, forward-thinking safety and an unwavering commitment to being the best. The W116 wasn't just a car, it was a statement of intent from Mercedes-Benz, and the world listened. Section 6, Engineering Excellence, the W126, built to last, 1980s. If the W116 laid the foundation, then the W126, launched in 1979 and gracing our roads throughout the entirety of the 1980s, built a veritable fortress upon it. This S-Class was, quite simply, a masterpiece of engineering and understated design. It was designed by the legendary Bruno Sacco, and his philosophy of horizontal homogeneity meant it looked modern for its entire 12-year production run, a remarkable achievement. It was sleeker, more aerodynamic than its predecessor, contributing to better fuel efficiency, a growing concern even then, and reduced wind noise, making the already quiet cabin even more serene. The W126 was a pioneer in passive safety. It was one of the first cars to be designed with offset crash compatibility in mind, and it introduced the driver's airbag as an option in 1981, later standard, followed by the passenger airbag in 1985. Seatbelt pre-tensioners also made their debut. Mercedes wasn't just meeting safety regulations, they were writing them. The body shell was incredibly strong, providing a cocoon of protection for its occupants. There's a reason these cars earned a reputation for being virtually indestructible. Many W126S are still running today with galactic mileages, a testament to their incredible build quality. They were literally built to last. Inside, the W126 continued the S-Class tradition of quiet luxury and impeccable craftsmanship. The ergonomics were superb, the seats comfortable for continent-crossing journeys, and the materials used were of the highest quality. While it didn't shout about its technology, it was there, working quietly in the background. Features like automatic climate control became more sophisticated, and the overall feeling was one of immense solidity and refinement. It wasn't a car that tried to impress with flashy gadgets, it impressed with its sheer competence and the deep-seated knowledge that it was engineered to a standard, not a price. The W126 became an icon of the 1980s. It was the car of choice for discerning executives, diplomats, and anyone who valued substance and longevity over fleeting trends. It was also incredibly successful, selling over 800,000 units, making it the most popular S-Class generation ever. It wasn't just a luxury car, it was an investment. Its timeless design and legendary reliability meant it held its value exceptionally well. The W126 didn't just influence the luxury car market, it the luxury car market for many. A tough act to follow indeed, but Mercedes was already working on it. Section 7, Tech Titan, the W140, a statement of power, 1990s. Then came the 1990s, and with it the W140 S-Class. And Hammond, May and I would probably agree this thing was substantial. Launched in 1991, it was bigger, heavier and more imposing than any S-Class before it. Some said it was too big, too ostentatious. They called it over-engineered, and you know what, they were probably right. But in a magnificent, typically German way. This car was Mercedes throwing down the gauntlet, a statement that they were still the kings of luxury, and they were going to prove it with sheer technological might and an utter disregard for petty concerns like parking space availability. The W140 was a technological tour de force. It introduced double-glazed windows for improved sound and thermal insulation, making the cabin almost unnervingly silent. It had power-assisted closing for the doors and boot lid because, you know, closing a door yourself is so terribly strenuous. It featured a pioneering CAN bus system, a sort of internal computer network for all the car's electronics. And it was available with a mighty 6.0-litre V12 engine in the 600 cell, the first V12 in a post-war Mercedes. This engine was so smooth you could supposedly balance a coin on it while it was running. Power and refinement, of course, all this technology and size came at a price, both literally and figuratively. The W140 was incredibly expensive and its development costs were astronomical. It was also famously complex. Early models had a few teething issues, which was uncharacteristic for a Mercedes, but they were quickly sorted. Despite the criticisms about its bulk, the W140 was an incredibly safe and comfortable car. It featured advanced safety systems, including brake assist, BAS, which could detect an emergency braking situation and apply maximum braking force. It was in many ways a fortress on wheels, designed to protect its occupants from anything the world could throw at it. The W140's impact was undeniable. It forced competitors to up their game significantly. While some found its sheer presence a bit much, no one could deny the engineering that went into it. It was the car that Princess Diana famously used, adding to its global recognition. Lesser-known fact: the guide rods that popped up from the rear corners when reversing to help judge distance were a clever, low-tech solution to parking such a behemoth before parking sensors became ubiquitous. The W140 might have been a bit of a brute, but it was a brilliant brute, pushing the boundaries of what a luxury car could be. Section 8. Modern marvels. The S-Class enters the 21st century. 2000S, 2010S. As the new millennium dawned, Mercedes knew the S-Class needed to adapt. The W140, for all its brilliance, was a product of a different era. The W220, launched in 1998 for the 1999 model year, was a response to this. It was sleeker, lighter, and appeared less imposing than its predecessor, though still a very large car. The design was more rounded, more aerodynamic, and some said a little less Mercedes-like at first. But it was packed, as you'd expect, with an avalanche of new technology. Airmatic air suspension became standard, offering an even more refined ride, and the Command infotainment system made its debut, integrating navigation, audio, and telephone functions. The W220 also introduced innovations like Distronic adaptive cruise control, which could automatically maintain a set distance from the vehicle ahead. Keyless go, ventilated seats, and a host of other comfort and convenience features further cemented the S-Class's reputation as a technological showcase. However, the early W220S faced some criticism regarding perceived build quality compared to the Bankbolt W140, and there were concerns about rust on some early examples. Mercedes addressed these issues, but it was a reminder that even the mighty can stumble. Despite this, the W220 sold well, proving that the demand for a cutting-edge, luxurious Mercedes flagship remained strong. Then came the W221, launched in 2005. This model saw a return to a more assertive, muscular design with flared wheel arches and a more imposing grille. It felt like a proper S-Class again in terms of presence. Technologically, it moved the game on yet again. Night view assist, using infrared cameras to help drivers see in the dark, was a standout feature. Improved versions of Distronic Plus with pre-safe brake could now bring the car to a complete stop if necessary. The interior was a masterpiece of luxury and design, with high-quality materials and an even more advanced command system. This was the S-Class reasserting its dominance in no uncertain terms. The W221 was followed by the W222 in 2013, which took luxury and technology to yet another level. This S-Class was the first car in the world to feature no traditional light bulbs whatsoever. Everything was LED. It introduced Magic Body Control, a system that used cameras to scan the road ahead and proactively adjust the suspension to glide over bumps. The interior was stunning, with huge display screens and an ambience more akin to a private jet than a car. Driver assistance systems became even more sophisticated, paving the way for semi-autonomous driving. Through these 2 decades, the S-Class consistently showed how to blend opulence with intelligence. Section 9. The future, today, the current, S-Class and beyond, present day, 2025. And so we arrive at the present day, or rather 2025 as I'm writing this. The current torchbearer for the Sonderklasse lineage is the W223 generation, launched back in late 2020, and as is tradition, it's a technological marvel that makes you wonder what they'll think of next. The first thing that strikes you is the interior, dominated by the enormous M-Bux hyperscreen option, which basically turns the entire dashboard into a giant, touch-sensitive display. Some might say it's a bit much, a bit too tablet on wheels. But then the S-Class has never been shy about embracing the future, even if it occasionally looks like a scene from a science fiction film. The W223 is naturally brimming with cleverness. Rear axle steering is available, making this large saloon surprisingly agile in tight city streets and more stable at high speeds. The augmented reality head-up display projects navigation instructions directly onto your view of the road ahead, which is incredibly useful and also makes you feel a bit like a fighter pilot. The driver assistance systems are now so advanced that the car can practically drive itself in certain conditions, though you're still legally required to pay attention, thank goodness. And of course, the levels of comfort, silence, and refinement are, as always, absolutely peerless. It's what an S-Class does, looking back at its journey from the early pioneers like the Ponton and Fintails through the official W116, the indestructible W126, the mighty W140, and the tech-laden models of the 21st century. The S-Class has been a constant innovator, a constant benchmark, a constant reminder of what's possible when a car company sets out to build the best car in the world. Decade after decade, it hasn't always been perfect, and sometimes its ambitions have perhaps outstripped immediate practicalities, but it has always pushed forward. It has shaped the automotive landscape in ways few other cars can claim. So, what's next for the S-Class? Well, the world is changing. Electrification is the big word on everyone's lips. Mercedes already has its EQS, the electric equivalent, which is a very different but equally advanced take on luxury. Will the S-Class itself go fully electric, or will it continue to offer a blend of sublime internal combustion engines alongside hybrid options? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, whatever form it takes, the S-Class will continue to be at the forefront of automotive technology, safety and luxury, because that quite simply is its job, and it's very, very good at it. End of story.